you ready?
You know, we didn't go 7, 8, 9 last week, and it really like depressed me, but I didn't want to say anything about it, but I was not okay. So I was like, honestly, like getting a little nervous that you weren't going to say
I thought we did because
7.
you were like, oh, everything went perfectly fine
No,
last time.
no, look, I said that, but then also in my head I was like, but we didn't do 7, 8, 9, and I'm a little upset about it. But I didn't want to say it because everything else had gone, like we didn't have to restart it, but I was a little upset about it, honestly.
Is this just going to become part of the podcast where we just open up talking about how the count went, and that's just like every episode? Because I kept it from last time, so I'm going to do it this time probably.
I feel like we talk about the count, or it shows up all the time, but I feel like it's because it always, like, there's always something to talk about with the count. But, like, you know what? It even ties in, actually, to pre-count if you really want to dig back into Weeb Club lore. The first episode starts with us making fun of Craig, like the robot thing that we used to record.
That's right. And then
so
what's the first word on the podcast entirely, if you go back to the very first episode? Robot pussy.
Yeah, exactly. So. That's what I'm saying. Like we have always started the episode talking about how we recorded the episode. Like, I feel like that's just a Weeb Club tradition at this point.
All right. Anyway, hello, listeners who have been here for like 1.5 minutes wondering, like turn the corner and some fucking weird guys are starting a conversation and they like, it's too awkward to just walk by. And so they're just kind of trapped there listening, eavesdropping, because I don't know. How are you guys doing?
Yeah.
I'm not very good because Vinny's been insulting me all day, messaging me constantly about some dog
You're just
shit.
mad that I fucking made good points
you
about
get messages.
You being a fake gay-asser. Because you were losing at risk, and you know that a real gay-asser
that doesn't make me a fake gay-asser.
And be a real risker, and you're just not. I'm sorry.
You don't understand Code Geass. You don't understand how many times Lucius lost. It's fine.
Nope.
I was losing to protect what I cared about.
Literally in his name.
Yeah.
There's 2 of them in his name.
You know, I'm going to spoil it. He goes by LL by fucking End of Resurrection. So it's literally, you know.
What a guy.
Makes sense.
I lose. All right, buddy. Don't need to tell everyone.
All right, comments. I don't want to start off with the one I really want to talk about.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, here's one. It's relevant to current topics. Spoon says, Nun needs to pressure Crafts or Vindy to watch Code Geass so the gay-assing can continue when Nun's finished. But, like, I've seen Code Geass before, like.
Okay, you need to rewatch it because you literally think the first half of season 1 is the best stuff. You're fucking stupid.
Like, no, I'm not gonna say that like my opinion holds up, but I'm also not gonna say that I want to invest the time to watch the 50 episode. That's a big ask. I think I'd rather watch.
No, it's 50 episodes and you know the movies.
I would much rather watch other things. Yeah, nope, not happening. No, sir.
I just don't.
It's in the cards for you.
All right, I'm gonna go off. Fuck it.
Do it. I'm ready.
So Christina Walker just mentions Morris's videos and with the vomit face and so then Sean McKnight apparently adds that like apparently he's doing a stream or did a stream recently where so he talks about how he's planning on doing a Wano video where he talks about how bad the arc is and how everyone else is criticizing the arc incorrectly because they're not pointing out how Wano doesn't have themes or its themes are incoherent.
Oh, really? No themes and its themes are incoherent. I see. So there was nothing behind what allowed Luffy to, be funny in the fight with the funny guy in that arc, right? There were no themes behind that. There was also no themes with,
Okay, wait, I have a question before
2 lines about 2 different people, being born to burn and no themes you could immediately.
X, yeah.
Yeah, like nothing you could you could draw thematically from that at all, like just immediately that doesn't strike out to you.
Go ahead, man.
So I read that comment not as Morge saying it has no themes, but people who are criticizing it are just jumping to it has no themes as a way to criticize it. I don't think Morge is that
here,
stupid.
Let me read it out loud.
I mean, I know the way it reads. It reads like Morge.
Well, I mean, the way he says it is like, yeah, because he is planning on doing a Wano video like his other arc videos, except to talk about how bad Wano is and how everyone like he's like
everyone who criticizes the arc are doing it wrong. And that, like the way that they're,
doing I know it sounds that Morge is the one saying that is incoherent / has no themes, but I just don't buy that. I think it's just the way the comment's written.
I don't know. Christina Walker seems to like corroborate it by, and I don't know. So and like that, and that the thread started with them saying that like it was new, like drawing a line between new and old Morge, and also like the fact that because like he was the thing with Morge is he was really big on like the raid's gonna fail, and well anyone who's read Wano knows how that turned out. And well, what I was gonna say is because like one, it kind of reminds me of like apparently what because there's a Dritz the theorist who apparently just like he liked One Piece, then the story didn't go the way he wanted, and then he became a big One Piece hater and did that fucking 10-hour video that Killer responded to about how One Piece bad actually. Which was I don't know, I know at least from what Killer showed me, he just straight up fucking lied and made Oda say like created a fake quote of Oda saying something he never said. So like good faith analysis right there. And honestly, I'm just getting flashbacks because I remember when I was super into the PCP and fucking Best Guy and a Hypocrite were like, oh, we're gonna do a One Piece podcast, and I was like, oh, 2 YouTubers I respect are doing a One Piece thing, and I followed it for a while. They had some good stuff to say. I like One Piece. I like them, and then I just I just realized how Best Guy Ever maybe isn't as smart as he thinks.
Jinbei is a bad straw hat, dude.
Well, and then especially with the fucking Luffy Katakuri thing, where I think I remember, he did his video, and he's talking about how he doesn't like the ending of the fight. I leave a fucking 5-paragraph response being like, here's the fucking point of the fight. And it had almost as many likes as the video, which for a YouTube comment that's pretty is, I don't know, intense. And then that was obviously the precursor to me doing my Beyond Blood video, or was it? Maybe I got the order wrong because I also remember him directly referencing my Beyond Blood video and responding to it a bit in the podcast that came after it. Whatever. And it wasn't a great response either. But then he just turned around and did a Katakuri good video, so I don't even know. I don't think I watched that one anyway. And now I'm just because I talked to Morge. We did a podcast on his Wano report, and he seemed pretty positive about Wano at the time. Though this was a bit after the Un flashback, so Act 3 hadn't gone on for a year or two. So because I literally haven't paid any attention to him. But what I was getting to with this is just aside from being disappointed and watching people I talk to just go into being kind of dumb about things, is I'm literally going to make this man in if what Sean McKnight is saying is right and Morge is just being dumb about Wano, I'm literally going to make a Wano video. I've decided I finished Wano. Oh, even before that comes out,
Craftsdwarf. Hey, do you want to bring back a potentially bring back a series?
Oh,
maybe
I think I see
drop
what you
it
mean.
similar time too.
An Elite series?
Yeah. If said video comes out, that'd be silly, goofy.
Okay,
even
that would be the thing. Yeah. So anyway, but just to tease. So I'm
down for being a hater. I've embraced it.
So there's already on the Nen Show we have just over 5 hours of Wano discussion just from Acts 1 and 2, and coming we have almost 9 hours of discussion on Act 3. I wish I was kidding, but I'm not. So and that is turning into a video that I'm definitely making talking about Wano because it's really good and I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean it's the best arc in the series, right? You can agree, right?
Honestly, the biggest reason I'm not sure about that is just because I haven't read all the other arcs recently, but I think it's basically 150 chapters of pure fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's
and,
great.
I'm
the
glad
only thing
didn't
that's
say the
keeping
K
it,
word.
it's God,
no,
it's got so many good things about it.
I'm serious. Craftsdwarf, when I was reading it, last summer, right, and I was reading through it all. I was fucking blown away because like I feel like I was fucking reading it and it was just great. Like it was the best arc, my favorite. Like it was just so good. Every part of it was fucking great, and everyone was just shit talking it constantly. It's like, what did we read the same arc? Like this shit's so fire. But then also like me reading it weekly, I think it's interesting that like, you know, part of it is that like, you know, even like you brought up with, you know, Morris thought that they were gonna like, you know, fail the raid. It's like interesting, I think, especially with like weekly reading, but like this happens a lot with One Piece, I think, because people setting these like coming up with theories and trying to set their own expectations for things that, you know, are like there the whole time, right? Like you know, the Joy Boy stuff goes back to like Skypiea, right?
Literally Skypiea, exactly.
But
right.
It's hard to see
through the sound effects that weren't translated.
Yeah, and
like Oda fucking had this shit in mind for literally before so much of his audience was fucking born. Like
it's some good comment discussion.
Well, and like I think
I'm really
that like it's
it.
interesting with it because you know, like there's this whole thing where we can't see all of that obviously at the time, and so not only the translation and how that factors into, you know, people being able to see things, but like people will set their expectations and they're just setting it at what they are. So if their expectations aren't met, they feel like, you know, they're getting cheated from the work because they're not able to look at it, you know, in its entirety. They're so week to week. And especially I think like weekly brain rot hits so fucking hard if you're someone who has to make videos every week. You know, you're making a video about it because you have to talk so much about it, and then, you know, people want to hear, oh, what do you think's gonna happen next? So you have to start talking about, oh, what's gonna happen next. And then if you're wrong, you know, you don't want to look stupid, so, you know, it's really easy to just then go, oh, well, this is fucking bad, it should have done what I thought was gonna happen. You know what I mean? Because like you want to save
people
face.
Just can't accept that. Like, because to give an example of where I was wrong with Wano, I thought it was going to be 5 acts. I heard about the Kabuki theory because there was a chapter that was like the 3 Ha's, and then it did. Wano's not 5 acts; it's 3 acts. But thinking about it more, understanding, you know, how Oda references things is because he uses a lot of myths and folklore and stuff, but he doesn't just reference them; he twists them. He makes it his own. Then there's the fact that Wano isn't a full story like a Kabuki play is. It's a 3 acts story in a much larger story. So the reason, because the idea is that there's the structure in the middle are basically like accelerating action to a big climax. Yeah. Except like the Wano arc isn't the end. It's literally like there isn't a slow beginning period introducing all the characters, because a first act of the Kabuki play, because we already know all the characters from, you know, the 900 chapters that happened before Wano, and there isn't a finale like quickly capping off the story because Wano's not over yet. In that, like, you know, obviously like the arc is over, but these characters are coming back. You know, the world is, everything's not calmed down and reaching an end point. Everything's gone to fucking hell. It's crazy out there. Like it makes sense, but like I was wrong at the start, and I just accepted it because the idea that it's right, that it was wrong. It like what Oda did is actually better than the theory, where it's just the theory was just like, oh, it's a Kabuki play, that's it. It's 5 arcs like a Kabuki play. Like, where do you go from that? Like what? Okay, what about why? Like, how does that help One Piece? Like, it doesn't. What Oda did was better for the series. Like, so just think about why you're wrong and why it's better this way. Fuck. Anyway, God. Okay, but let's get it. Let's. Do we have any more comments?
Yeah, I want to keep going on this, but we can't.
I hope you guys feel good.
Well,
Yeah, I do actually.
It's such an. It's such a like an interesting topic. There's so much to talk about because people are so dumb. Craftsdwarf, we gotta. If the bad video comes out and we have to.
I know. I understand.
20-hour UWB, yeah. Oh, LLFO or LLF0 has Twitter's like a debuff that continuously deals mental health damage. Honestly, fucking true. Like, it like fills. It's like, honestly, it's like a Dark Souls bar where it doesn't scroll damage with every tweet you deal, but like it slowly ticks up, and then you take a big amount. You take a huge amount of damage at once. You know what I mean? It's like Dark Souls bleed. You just see like the one tweet that just sets you off, and you have to fucking like get off your phone for the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and as they like cut off all their social media, and browsing habits are more peaceful. What do you know? It's almost like the internet is the devil, and it wants your fucking soul. So you have to limit your contact with the fucking devil. I'm ready to move on to the Reddit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a comic I read I guess it's not very funny, unfortunately.
What the fuck?
Have you read it? None?
No, but
well,
I mean, maybe it's very funny, but now you're already hating. Trying to color my perception before I even get to it.
Read it then. Oh wait.
Damn, he got you.
Okay, I'm reading it.
Can you read it out loud?
He's already thinking, what a guy. What a
guy. That was funny.
What happened to the comic?
Describe it to us.
Well,
describe it to the listeners, not to us.
Craftsdwarf being asked things by a doctor, and it's funny.
All right, I'll give it to you. He looked at it.
I don't even. Okay, yeah, all right. He at least saw that there were. Yeah, okay. All
right.
There were characters. There were themes. It's kind of a little better than Wano, honestly.
Yeah, Wano had current themes apparently. Oh God. So, topic as I've wanted to talk, or I've been thinking about it for a little while. But I was just ranting about it in my head, and I was like, hey, why don't we talk about this? So basically, I want to talk about sort of like because we obviously talk about anime and manga a lot, but I guess I specifically want to talk about anime adaptations that kind of get maybe like demonized in a sense. Because I was thinking about it, because like if I think of like series that I've enjoyed the anime for, like Chaos Child or Blue Period, or maybe less Blue Period, but Karakuri Circus, where like I enjoyed these shows, but knowing the source material, like I kind of understand where people are coming from, but I also kind of think they're just being way too fucking harsh. And so like with Blue Period, I mostly remember just a couple people saying like, yeah, the manga's better, the anime cuts stuff out, right? But at the end of the day, we did enjoy Blue Period, and it got me into the manga, which, yeah, I love the manga. It's literally on my 4x4. I love Blue Period. But like, how do I explain this? Like, I guess, I guess maybe, I don't know, people just have this idea that if it isn't like better in every way, or like just as good in every way, that's inherently like inferior, I guess. And
that if it's,
I don't know,
or that like if it isn't
like,
better than its original, or isn't as whole or complete as its original, that it doesn't have any value whatsoever and shouldn't be consumed. Is like that what you're trying to say? Like, if it doesn't surpass it, then why does it exist?
Yeah, or alternatively, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like, why does it exist? Or it's like, like, yeah, if there's no reason to recommend it, then yeah, why does it exist, right? Like, but which I think is kind of short-sighted for a number of reasons. But even just like my personal experiences is, I still like this series, these series that have a source material that I think is just much better.
Was it Motorcycle Guy that I heard, or did I mishear that?
I didn't even hear him, so maybe.
Okay.
I think I made a noise with my mouth listening to Craftsdwarf.
None is super engaged in this topic,
like
as we see.
Guy. I think I went and that's what you heard. If you want me to keep it a buck, because I'm thinking about. Well, I'm
Vindy
thinking about
motorcycle noises.
No, I'm thinking about what you're saying.
No,
I have like two. I don't know, like distinct thoughts about it. Because like one is that like I think, it's interesting because I think in part, as someone who's definitely talked that way a lot, it does come from, like almost feeling, especially like in the way that like we were kind of hinting at last time, where online discourse rots your brain, right? And so if I'm like talking to people online, right, about like say Nisekoi, I think is a great example of this, and they're trying to like get into it, right? And they're like, well, I'm not gonna watch it and read it. You know what I mean? Like, which one am I gonna do?
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell them to watch it, even though I've seen the anime, like a couple episodes of it. I've seen like half of it. It's like it's crazy good. It's adapted.
For what it adapts, it's an insanely good adaptation as far as like what it adapts, because obviously the issue is that it's not the full story.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if you want like this story to resolve, you need to read the manga, because Shaft isn't coming back.
Well, and not even just like need it to resolve. I think a lot of people, and the way that especially like even just like. Well, I guess it is the story to resolve, but it's even to like fully like understand the story and like look at it. Like I could see someone walking away from the anime and leaving it where the anime leaves it and just being a hater, because like you need the series to fulfill like the expectations it sets out for you to like actually look at it and be like, oh yeah, like everything there that I was putting up with or not putting up with, but, you know, sitting through, like, had a purpose at the end of the day. And when you don't see that, it's a lot easier to, like, hate on it. So, like, you tell someone, you know, oh, you should read it. But you have to, you know, it's online discourse. You're talking on fucking Twitter or, like, Discord. You don't, you know, you can't actually just have, like, a reasonable discussion with the person. So you got to make it sound a little fucking psychotic. You know what I mean? You got to come in here and say, like, fucking... No, look, the anime fucking sucks. It isn't, like, done. Like, you just fucking read it. The anime doesn't exist, right? Because you can't, you know what I mean? Because, especially because in that way, where it's, like, a lot of times, you know, it just is that the anime isn't complete. Most people, if they know the anime is, like, kind of good or close to being as good, they're not going to want to read it, right? Most people are fucking anime watchers. They don't read manga. They're going to watch the anime and then, you know, maybe pick up the manga from where it left off. Maybe not. Maybe they don't care if they're not super into it. And then it's like, okay, but, like, you could have, if you just chose to read it instead, like, had the whole thing in the one you chose. You know what I mean? And I think that that's, like, also part of why then it makes you want to, like, put down the anime and prop up the manga to make the manga more appealing when, like, realistically,
I think because the area I understand that most is the instances where I feel like the anime has maybe harmed discussion, right? Like, I think we've talked about it, especially ad nauseum with the big three, with how, like, the fact that so many people engaged with the big three where they watched the anime, you know, what was the biggest part of Naruto when they were kids watching it? The Chunin exams, you know, what stuck in people's brain as being so fundamentally core to Naruto, and that's the themes of the Chunin exams that they didn't grasp fully because they weren't viewing it as, like, the whole that it is, right? But that's not necessarily the anime's fault, but that is just an example of, like, you know, here's where the anime... And, you know, maybe it is part of the anime's fault because the story literally would not finish for, like, what, 15 years in the anime, almost, give or take?
Yeah.
Just because of how, you know, it's 700 fucking episodes, right? Where the manga was done a few years before that. And because it is just a bit more, you know, focused in that way.
And so then there's also, like, the time sink it puts in. So the more time someone puts into something, you know, like... You feel similarly with games, I feel, where, you know, if I'm going to put 100 hours into a JRPG, I honestly expect that JRPG to, like, be really good, you know what I mean? Versus, like, I'll play, like, a 4-hour, like, FPS that's, like, mid as fuck because it's 4 hours, it doesn't matter, you know what I mean? So when you're watching a 700 episode show, that's so much of your life, that's so much time that you almost expect, like, if I'm going to invest this much time, rightfully, it should be rewarded, you know, proportionally.
Right. If anyone watches, like, 700 episodes of Naruto or 1,000 episodes of One Piece, like, it better be fucking one of the best stories you've ever experienced. You know, so yeah, and if it's not that, then they're, you know, maybe going to be even more angry about it than if they'd watched, like, a 12 episode anime that was even worse in some ways, but, like, well, you know, they're not as bitter about that.
Or even worse in every way.
So much of their lives.
Right? Yeah, like, exactly, it could genuinely just be, and they could even agree, like, yeah, it's probably worse than this, but it doesn't make them as mad because it was, you know, less time.
Exactly, right. But anyway, to give this specific example that made me think about it was Karakuri Circus, because, like, obviously, you know, there's, like, Nisekoi and Blue Period where they, you know, they do a decently good adaptation, all things considered, you know, even if they inevitably have to cut stuff by virtue of, you know, cutting the story short. But Karakuri Circus, so basically it's adapting a 43 action series, a 43 manga, or chapter volume. Wow, holy shit, I know words. 43 volume manga series. It's like, what, 39 episodes or so? And they did have the original author, Fujita, I believe he was involved in the planning because, like, the manga is almost complete as far as translation goes. It's still not translated in English. I read this shit in high school. That's how I found out about it. And there's still 3 volumes that aren't complete. So I was just thinking about it because a new volume was translated in the last week or two, and I read it. It was good, you know. But I've already seen the anime, and I just remember ages ago, after the anime had finished, I remember in the comment section for one of the Karakuri Circus chapters, someone, like, mentioned that they watched the anime, and someone was like, "Oh no, you poor baby!" Like they were fucking hurt or something. Like they need a support group because they watched the Karakuri Circus anime, and that kind of frustrated me because, like, you know, like, I think, you know, so let's put it this way. You know, I watched Dragon Quest Dai's Great Adventure. It adapted, like, what, a 30-something manga, 34-volume manga series in 100 episodes. So, obviously, you know, adaptations aren't going to, you know, adapt the exact same material the same way. So, Karakuri Circus, if it had been a full adaptation, probably also, like, even if it was double, that's, like, you know, 70 to 80 episodes. If it was a full adaptation that adapted every single chapter, then it might have even been over 100 episodes. Most studios can't fucking do that. That is like, you know, most anime are not 100 episodes, and if they are, they have to, especially nowadays, where you know, like MHA is 100 episodes, but it was made in multiple seasons over the course of, you know, a much longer period of time than, you know,
I guess it's years
where,
anyways,
2 years,
yeah,
right? Yeah, like 2 years,
like
you know,
almost a
like
decade
12
now,
years
right?
versus 2 years, right? Yeah, or yeah.
When was the first season
actually,
of?
Yeah, it would be a decade.
My Hero Academia.
I want to say 20. No,
2015.
Yeah, I don't actually know. Yeah, that might be closer. Really?
Really? For season 1 was
20.
Oh my god, it was 2016. Okay, so I guess not a decade, but it's been 8 years.
Okay.
Or no, not 8. Sorry.
Yeah, right. So
7.
Math.
Yeah, I'm done. 7 years.
So it's like, you know, and that you know, that's one example of how that's honestly closer to how like Black Clover did do over 100 episodes. It's not airing right now.
And also,
you know?
people don't fucking like Black Clover. Same with Boruto. Like the manga, or not the anime.
Well, okay,
Sorry.
So yeah, well, I mean, okay, so Black Clover I haven't seen. I really like Boruto.
Oh, that's
still.
true.
Like,
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot.
I'm also not. Yeah, but like
well, I've seen.
Are you
of,
not
like,
current?
Random Boruto fans sometimes.
Do you know what's happening?
I'm
sorry.
the anime, not the manga.
Okay. Can we spoil, like, at least can I spoil the thing I've seen most recently for Boruto that I think goes hard as fuck, but everyone else I've seen talk about it fucking hates it? I saw a TikTok for like 2 months straight that Sasuke was fighting dinosaurs, and that just sounded so fucking cool and made me want to watch it. But everyone was like, "This is so bad. This is dog shit." But it was like,
it's for the Naruto.
Sasuke's fighting
Naruto
dinosaurs.
light
This
novels.
is like hard, right?
Yeah, no. It's what Nun's saying. Anyone who's mad about it, it's like. So there's a manga spin-off going currently still that's adapting the same arc. Yeah, it's a light novel.
Okay.
It has nothing, like, the Boruto staff is just adapting it. So if anyone's mad about it, like, be mad about something that's actually related to the Boruto anime and original to it, instead of just like an adaptation of a light novel that no one had read because it probably wasn't translated before it got this current manga spin-off and adaptation of the Boruto anime. So,
but it sounds hard. I'm people are shitting on it, but like it sounds hard. He's fighting dinosaurs. Hello? How does that not go hard?
No, it's just automatically a great arc because Sasuke fucking punches a raptor. Like, how do you not love it?
If you don't love that,
understand.
Like, something broke your brain. I'm sorry, like, you are not, like, your brain isn't functioning. Like, Sasuke, cool, awesome. Dinosaurs, cool, awesome. They're fighting. Like, that's what I did as a kid with my toys. Hello? It goes hard.
So anyway, to go back to Karakuri Circus, is like, so production wise I understand why the anime like isn't 1 million episodes, because most studios can't do that. Most series don't, even if, like, yeah, Fujita's a very notable author, but like, is his name enough to sell an anime that's over 100 episodes, you know? And judging by the fact that Karakuri Circus wasn't that long, probably not, right? So considering that, like, the anime has to make the staff has to make various concessions, and in this case, they literally brought the author on, as I understand it, I might be completely wrong, to help them, like, cut down the manga so that they could adapt it properly. And, like, I think there's definitely some, as just, like, again, would I recommend the anime? Overall, like, yeah, the manga is just going to be the complete story. There's more going on. And the anime has issues from cutting stuff, like, but it also restructures stuff in some neat ways. So, like, how I went through the anime is every episode would air, and I would literally read the manga up to the point that the anime was, just like I've done with a few things like Beastars and anything that I like super am into the anime and I want to read the manga like right away. I'll do that. Where with Karakuri Circus, I had like a history with it, so I was particularly invested in that. And like, yeah, there was one character who they had a whole arc going through a backstory and what her deal was, and the anime reduced it to a conversation that still got the point of her character development across, but without seeing all the cool stuff that happened, considering that the anime has to be this length, then I kind of understand why they cut that. And like, at the end of the day, one of the things that stuck with me the most about the anime was a change they made for the better. And like episode fucking 20, they're doing this fucking crazy basically reveal where there's like a one character who's supposed to be dead, and then there's like an inventor, and then there's a Chinese alchemist, and they're doing some fucking weird ass shit because there's a lot of like immortality in the series, and these characters will live a long life. And so it turns out all these 3 characters are the same fucking person, and then he unmasks himself, and he's a 4th person that we already thought was dead, and I remember losing my fucking shit because I technically knew about this fourth person since I read the manga in high school. I'm pretty sure, maybe not high school, but a little after that, when those chapters got translated. And so, like, and I just like reveals, like, as a trope. Like, in my fanfiction trilogy, like, one of the moments in the third one was, like, 3 different characters turning out to be the same person, and just went a little beyond that. And when I read it in the manga, they actually, like, add a bit before that reveal that calls attention to that fourth character who's supposed to be dead, and kind of makes the reveal weaker in my mind. But, you know, of course, sure, right enough, right after that, the anime, like, cuts out a bit that's kind of important for a character who, like, portrays this antagonist. So it's like, yeah, the anime still has problems, but it's not like I still enjoyed it a lot. The openings are really good. Like, there's good things about it that I like, and even if I rewatched it, I'd still probably enjoy it because I just enjoy the core story of Karakuri Circus, even if I recognize that this is not the ideal version of the story by any means. So it's like, you know, that's really where this topic came from, because I just feel like it's so black and white and binary with people, where it's like, it's got to be the greatest shit ever, or it's nothing. It doesn't matter, you know. And even if, yeah, it has, I don't know. Someone else talk for a minute. I've got more points, but I want to hear what you guys think.
None go?
Well, I tried to talk earlier, but some schmalding going on, so I decided to leave it to you two. I mean, I was just gonna expand on the point you guys were talking about earlier about how, like, basically the fear of an adaptation, like the fear of the bad aspects, or like the aspects that aren't as good as the other thing, making people be overly critical of the work in question, just because of, like, yeah, if they see that this thing is doing something differently and it's not like the source material, or not even the source material, whichever version that they happen to prefer, then it's like it's overly scrutinized, and like they're making the usually the anime sound worse than it is. I definitely think we've done that with the big 3. You know, I still do have issues with them, but like the adaptations, Bleach sounds like the worst based on like the Ichigo Orihime thing. Like that really bothers me.
The character changes they do. That seems annoying, but I haven't watched it. And I was also going to say,
One Piece, I would say, is like definitely the one that like I think is probably really fucking good. Like, I've never fucking hated One Piece's anime. You know, Naruto without the fillers, it's probably like pretty good. Like, even if it's just like, you know, like good or great, that's still fine. Like, it doesn't have to be like like if the manga's a favorite, right, and I enjoy the anime, it doesn't matter that it's not also a favorite anime for me or whatever, as long as like I enjoyed it, and like it did the parts that I really love good.
And also, I mean, it can also be a favorite for someone else just because it's not, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
just because it's not for me.
Yeah, I have a specific example I want to bring up, but like, cause to go to big 3 for a second, it's like, yeah, like One Piece, I think thinking back, I was probably overly harsh on it without just like, you know, because for the same reasons, it's just like, oh, there's no reason to watch it. The manga's just better. It's a faster reason to go through, faster way to go through it.
But the appeal of the anime could be that it's longer and there's more of it to
like
enjoy.
It feels more like a long, grand journey. Like, people have legitimately felt,
and especially because the world is so big.
Yeah, Naoki Urasawa's Monster, which isn't a long manga. It's only like 18 volumes, 20 volumes.
Yeah, it's a quick read.
Like that. The anime is like. Yeah, the anime is like 70 episodes, 80 episodes. It's much, but people like that about the anime because it, you know.
I wonder. I would have to watch and read it, I think, quickly to see. But I would imagine that almost turns it from being this like very fast paced like thriller to like a much like more slow, drawn out. You know what I mean? Like, just because it's longer.
Yeah, and it
like,
is a story that takes place over a few years. So right. So yeah, absolutely.
Man, I wish his other series had good anime adaptations. Honestly.
Fuck, I'm literally reading 20th Century Boys right now. It's so
dude.
Fucking good,
I was thinking about rereading it soon, but I just don't read books or manga. Sorry, I don't read manga, but I was thinking about rereading it because I love that series.
Pluto, Naruto with robots, yes, please.
Although I will say again, Billy Bat. You know what? It doesn't need an adaptation. It can stay. Billy Bat can stay. But I need a 20th Century Boys adaptation pronto.
Well, Pluto is apparently in the works. I don't have high hopes, but hopefully it'll be good, or at least, you know, it'll give more attention to the series because it's a good manga.
20th Century Boys one could be fucking good. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I think something with the adaptations thing is also that like people need to definitely like wait to actually hear what somebody's like take on it was from like say like someone chose to watch One Piece, for example. You shouldn't just assume they're gonna like have all the like anime fan takes or whatever just because they watched it. Like before you like overreact that they got into it from that version, you should like actually like, you know, verify what they actually think of it. If they still like really enjoyed it and it's like a really big One Piece fan, and it's like kind of whatever.
Well, yeah, and you don't want to go the other way too, where it's like, oh man, you liked it? It sucks though. You should read the manga. Like, I mean, I think just like either way, like especially with a series as long as One Piece, like just getting like, because again, the big reason I want to go through it is because it's not the translation that I'm used to. That I've read my physical volumes of so many times. Like I haven't even listened to most of the episodes pre-Water 7 with audio because of my fucking. I didn't know that you could just plug headphones into your computer and listen. My speakers were broken. I could still tell what was going on because of the subtitles, but I literally just didn't watch a huge chunk of One Piece episodes without audio.
Hey, if it works, it works. You know what I mean?
I was in high school.
You were just already living the old man experience, being hard of hearing early. It is what it is. You were preparing for how you're going to watch the final episodes when they come out. You know what I mean? I know you'll have fucking tinnitus by then.
One thing I was like talking about a little bit earlier today was like, if someone got into Code Geass from those like 3 recap movies instead of the show, even though they have like one change that I'm not a fan of, overall, even though I don't like them as much, it's not like a bad way to get into the series. Like I can like acknowledge that, and if someone like super was still into it, it wouldn't be like as invalidating, even if like I wouldn't pick watching those over the show, especially because they're so long to the point where it's like the show, I mean, I haven't like done the math of like what the difference in length is, but like it's enough of a time investment where the show is like still something that you could have done, but they're definitely like still pretty well done, and I can see like the work that they did to like fit all of that into 3 movies, especially the way it like connects together. Like most of what they chose to cut, like even though like some is like a little unfortunate, I can mostly see the vision, even if there's like one choice that I might disagree on, or 1 or 2 here and there.
Yeah. Okay, I have kind of a pivot. Sorry, because I don't really have like a good follow up on you, but it kind of like it's kind of a weird example, but I think it's really interesting, and it is like also about this, which is Full Metal Alchemist, right? Because there's technically like the three versions, right? Yeah. I'm not gonna count the Netflix live action movie. I'm sorry. There's
I mean, how much does it even adapt? Because it's a decently long series, like not long, but it's.
I don't care. It's not real. Yeah. It doesn't exist. I'm choosing instead of like talking about how we're talking about these anime. In this instance, these live action. I am genuinely just choosing to ignore their existence. Okay, I don't need to worry about it. Goodbye. All right. But I think for the for the anime and then the manga, like the 2 different anime, it's really interesting because I can see like really good merits to all 3, right? So like personally for me right now, I would either just read the manga or I would watch 2003 because that series is batshit insane and I would want to watch that because it's different. And so I would have like no real reason to watch Brotherhood. But on the like flip side is if I was trying to show someone that story, or if like I was recommending it to someone who I know is just like an anime guy and doesn't, read a lot of manga, I would just tell them to watch Brotherhood because I think, it's a good adaptation. I've seen it, like it goes hard. So I think that all 3 have like really good merits and deserve to, you know what I mean? Like exist and have people talk about them and like them.
Yeah, and when Nun was talking about Code Geass, I was going to mention an example of an anime that sort of like shortens the work, but I still had fun with it. Was I watched last year? I watched Danganronpa the Animation, which was the 13-episode anime adapting the first visual novel.
Oh my god, the flip on this guy.
It's I mean I never finished it before, so I don't know. But like, so yeah, it's, you know, it's very fast paced. You know, like obviously it not being a visual novel is like, cause part of the fun I have with Danganronpa is like, cause I like solving the mysteries, going through them the first time, which, you know, admittedly, I think I've only done with Danganronpa V3, but you know, where it's like when I'm reading like, you know, Detective Conan is, you know, like even though the series wants you to solve the mysteries alongside it, I also kind of don't care that much. You know, I kind of have to be forced to do it, which is part of why I'm looking forward to going through Phoenix Wright, because, you know, I have to solve all these mysteries and I don't know what the fuck happened. I haven't spoiled myself. But anyway, you know, so yeah, and you know, the free times, I really like having these like extra conversations that give more context to the characters, and the anime obviously isn't going to have those, but the anime still does, like, you know, it does a pretty good job of, you know, going through the story. It there's little details that they add that are really cute and show that they understand, you know, what's going on. And there's some moments that I think they adapt pretty well. Like the ending and the climax were exciting. I was pretty hyped. You know, like, do I like it as much as a visual novel? No. But, you know, and obviously the fact that like there's Danganronpa 3, which even if you want to watch it, you know, even though it's like one of my least favorite parts of the franchise, not my least favorite part, fuck you, Danganronpa killer. But, you know, like, you have to play Danganronpa 2. There's no way around it, right? You know, but like, yeah, I still had fun with the anime. So like, I don't know, and where I was kind of going with that is, I don't know if we're close to like wrapping up the topic, even though I have a couple more things to, no, actually I do have one more example to talk about, where it's an example, because like, I definitely think people just going back to anime adaptations, they lazy, or, you know, the normal bad takes, they didn't care or whatever, right? Like, because I think when we watched Orient, you know, I wasn't very into it because I'd already read the manga, and, you know, I could tell just from like the production that, like, you know, I didn't really like it visually. You know, there weren't a lot of changes that I was enjoying. Like, it's the kind of series that, you know, I'd be like, yeah, I don't have a reason to watch this. But again, I was, you know, I was trying not to shit on, you know, because I know you mentioned you liked it, right? Or at least to a point that or what?
Wait, what did I like?
Orient. We talked
about it. Not really.
Damn.
You read the manga, didn't you?
This guy's
I thought you
fucking.
I didn't read the What?
Here's my God.
No, I finished it and I thought it was like okay, and I thought I was being a little too harsh on it, but I don't actively like
actively
Orient.
gaslighting Craftsdwarf.
All right, I have been gaslit. I'm tilted.
Yeah.
Anyway, but okay, whatever. Maybe but like the actual example I was thinking of is or the other one I was thinking of was actually Plunderer, where it's like obviously at the end of the day, like, I would never recommend the anime, in fact, like, because I really just don't like the adaptation, and, you know, Vindy, like,
but the end of that episode was just so wild.
No, I was so glad to have picked it, because like we got to that episode and I was like, this is why I picked this show, because it's something that just, it hits you and you go, what the literal fuck, right? Like, because I'd already read the manga, and, you know, again, do you have a reason to not read the manga? Not really. But like, that adaptation still sticks with me, because like, there's things about it that like Danganronpa the animation show that they cared and understood the material and were putting in little details that, if you know what's going, like the fact that this one character has like slow-mo gags where when she punches one of the guys because of her powers that tie into time, and it's like they do shit like that, where it's like, that wasn't a manga. Right, where it's like, if it was a visually good and well directed and well paced anime adaptation with good original content, it would be fucking like 10 out of 10. But, you know, it wasn't any of those things, even though it had the details that people like about other adaptations. They like you know, Ashita no Joe I watched last year, and you know, I was into the mindset to probably enjoy it due to like real life stuff going on, but like, it did add a lot of like original content that had a good understanding of the source material. It also made some changes that, you know, made me go like, oh, I missed that thing of the manga, I wish it was here too, you know. So or I like the way the manga handled this, you know. They're both really fucking good. But I guess where I was going to go from there is like, because you have, you know, adaptations like Ashita no Joe or Naruto, where they're kind of expanding on the material in some ways, you know, for better or worse. Like, obviously not all the Naruto anime original content is good, but I mean, I could say I like a lot of the Boruto anime original content. And, you know, Ashita no Joe has a lot of interesting things that it adds for sure. Then you have the anime show series that like truncated a bit, like the Code Geass trilogy or Danganronpa the animation, but I was also thinking, and to talk about something that I would have talked in the backlog, is you have like supplemental anime adaptations. And the example I was thinking with this was the 1993 JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders OVA, which it's only like 6 episodes. It adapts 4 fights. It was Nadul, the water guy in the desert, Darby the Gambler, Vanilla Ice and Cream, and then Dio. So like as a version of Stardust Crusaders, it is not a complete series like by any stretch. There's still kind of a narrative there because I guess like I kind of noticed that like all the villains they revere Dio in a slightly different way before that then you get the final fight against Dio. But like who's gonna buy an OVA of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in the early 90s? It's gonna be people who already read the manga. Like it's marketing itself towards those people who are familiar with the material already. They don't need a full adaptation of JoJo because to watch these 6 episodes.
Yeah, and it's almost like an interesting little like, hey, like it's never promising that it's a full adaptation, right? It's just like kind of promising like, hey, buy this videotape, and it's kind of 2-3 hours of what would it look like if the entire series was animated, but just these fights, and that's something that's cool in 93 to be able to buy and take home.
And for the stuff that it adapts, I have not rewatched the the David Productions anime, but I would be very fucking surprised if their versions of these 4 battles was better because Satoshi motherfucking Kon
visually
worked on the Dio
iconic.
fight, okay?
Yeah.
Dude, it's like the fucking just the tension, the sound, I fucking loved the Jotaro Dio fight. It made me that fight go from I like it quite a bit to god damn, holy shit, it just the way it just nails everything about the fight just perfectly, the mood of it, it's just such a good adaptation of JoJo, even though it's not a full adaptation, right? And it's but again, it's not trying to be, and as a supplement to the series, I think it's really fucking cool, and I would literally recommend anyone who's read or watched the Stardust Crusaders to just go watch that old OVA because it's just really fucking good. The second one that adapts I don't like that one as much. There's still some neat visual things about it, I guess, but it just didn't grip me in the same way. But it's I don't know. I think there's definitely merit to anime, I'd rather they'd be doing something different to the manga than just copying the manga and just doing it, right, and just beat for beat, because what works beat for beat for a manga isn't going to be working the same for an anime, which I'm pretty sure I've said before, but it, bears repeating, so. Sad. If you guys don't have anything to add, I'm done with the topic.
Yeah,
I was thinking of just anime that I think has merit in certain ways over the manga, but I don't know if it's worth mentioning, really.
I don't mind.
I was just thinking about Sket Dance, how the beginning of the manga scan wise, and even in some ways the manga itself is rough, whereas I do still think the beginning of Sket Dance in the anime is better, even if the whole of the anime isn't better. It's just I think the anime is so in the manga, I think that stark contrast between how the characters are originally drawn and portrayed is very different than how it is a little bit later on when they're more defined, and the art style is more so consistently the same, even if it's still improving a bit throughout the thing. It's not as big of a jump, whereas the anime is because it's an anime, it knows a little bit more ahead of how things are going to be, so it can account for that. So in that way, I feel Sket Dance is introducing someone to Sket Dance through the anime would probably be easier than the manga, just because of the rough scans and certain little things, especially with how the anime adapts material, because it does skip some chapters here and there, which is obviously I do enjoy all of the chapters of Sket Dance for the most part, but I don't know. I think the start of Sket Dance's anime is a better impression. So I feel even in examples like that, where even if the entire anime isn't better, there's still parts of it, and it still can be an easier way to get into something for someone.
Yeah.
I was a little sad when I was looking through the anime, because I haven't watched it for a while. So my assessment of it can vary a little bit. I'm not fully certain on how I'll feel about it when I watch it. But I was a little sad when I was looking at like the episode that has a chapter I really like about Bassoon needing to shit really badly, and the faces weren't as good in the anime. Like it still was kind of funny as I was looking through it and stuff. And like I know I would still enjoy it if I watched it, but I was like, fuck. It felt like it wasn't gonna give like the same justice the manga did, especially when like that episode is one of the episodes where they adapt like it only takes up half the episode, that chapter, and then the next half of the episode is a different chapter. But that chapter's so good that I wish it was just the whole episode instead of like having that really good funny payoff just be at the middle and then go to something else. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's definitely something to consider, just like which version is going to help the specific person be able to get into it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like something else came to mind, but I forgot. So you can go ahead with your weekly backlog, Midjig. None.
Ooh.
So unfortunately, I have not consumed any more Code Geass.
Oh no,
so
no!
I'm gonna have to talk about something else that I consumed, which was the Last of Us TV show.
It's so good, right? I'm 2 episodes behind, by the way.
I'm kidding. The gay ass thing never ends.
Oh my god, this guy!
I watched the 2 recap movies. Let's go. I did not watch The Last of Us.
You know what? That kind of goes hard.
See, I was laughing because I thought Nun was going to say, unfortunately, I didn't consume anything, so I'm just going to talk about Code Geass again.
No, I consumed more Code Geass. So, it was the 2...
Oh, man, Vindy. That's funny. He's just bullying you.
It's fine. I'm okay.
Sorry, go ahead, Nun.
It was the 2 OVAs that recap the series, but they're 2 hours each, so I spent 4 hours going through the series for a third time. Yeah, it's mostly this. I mean, so watching those made me appreciate the other recaps more, just because like these ones actually feel like recaps, whereas the 3 movies from before, you like, when I was like reading interviews, like it was being asked like how they like kind of compared those like 3 movies to the Gundam movies, like how people get into like the original Gundam through the 3 movies instead of the show, because the 3 movies, you know, they still connect things better and stuff. So I could definitely see how like, yeah, those 3 movies you could get into the show potentially from watching those. Whereas like these 2 OVA recaps, I would definitely like, you know, we were just kind of a little bit talking about like accepting people getting into things through other means, through other adaptations. But I wouldn't really be able to accept somebody getting into Code Geass through these 2 movies. Even if I still did enjoy
this guy.
Look, it is what it is. People are hypocritical. People lie.
You know what?
It's thematic to Code Geass.
You know what? I'll allow it. How can I not if you just fucking admit it like that?
Look, I'm not perfect. I could try to be a little more accepting. I try to be a little more accepting nowadays, but there's some things where I'm not ready for it, which it would be for these, even if I still did enjoy them. But yeah, with these, it's like you can very clearly tell where they're like stitching episodes together, quote unquote, and like where they're transitioning from moment to moment. Whereas like in the other 3, they do a very good job of like masking that fact. And like if you didn't watch Code Geass before watching those 3 movies, I really mostly think you wouldn't really be able to tell what is like, oh, they went from episode 2 to episode 4 or something, or like, oh, they didn't show this little thing that happened in the beginning of episode 3 and went to this thing. Whereas these recaps, they definitely feel that way. But I still liked them, and I did appreciate like how they managed to put in like kind of more than the other ones somewhat. It's just like shorter bits of it to some extent. And like I still do the one thing that both these recaps do and the other 3 movies, which is like dedicate a lot of time to like the finale of R1 and the finale of R2. Like that's like the important like good shit. So like, yeah, like it makes sense to sacrifice some other things for that. And in these movies, I really liked some of the some of the like added narration just to kind of like really like show the point, and also like I thought it was super cool how at the beginning of these recaps, since they're recaps for people who are watching the show as it aired and not like as a way for somebody to get into it now, they kind of just show like the end of seasons at the beginning of the movie to kind of like hype it up and like, you know, like kind of set the stage of what it's building to, and like, you know, just be able to like talk about it as a whole, and you have in mind what's going to happen at the end while watching everything in the beginning. I did enjoy them. It was more Code Geass. I do have some slight addendums from the last episode. Colin is not the hottest girl. I'm sorry. It's Cornelia when she changes her hair. She's not better than Colin, but it's like
this guy.
She's definitely hotter.
None you want to fuck a girl named after corn? Really?
It is what it is. I don't really, but I mean,
you want to shuck her? I see how it is.
The hair change does something for me. It's actually very good, even though I'm a little mixed on her as a character slightly, but is what it is. I also was like, I forgot to mention this last time when I was talking about Suzaku, how like Suzaku is not like a super liked character, and I kind of assumed that I didn't assume he was like loved or anything, but like I never even thought about the idea of like maybe other people don't like him too, because like if Lelouch is so loved like as a character back when it was aired, like, you know, he's still #1 on Mal, it does make sense that Suzaku would like have a substantial amount of people who hate him. So it wasn't like, I don't know, I went back when I didn't like Suzaku back in the olden days, you know, that was a very long time ago. I was basically saying, like, you know, people now who criticize Code Geass, they mostly focus on Lelouch, but like I've never heard anybody like focus on Suzaku, but like that definitely was the case for at least like Code Geass fans who didn't like Suzaku. And like even like now thinking back at like not Suzaku, Lelouch has like over 100,000 favorites on Mal or something, and Suzaku has like 3,000. That's like a massive difference for like people who are literally the two central like rival characters. Like even Naruto and Sasuke, even though people hate on Sasuke, it's not at all like that. Sasuke has like a lot of favorites.
They're both incredibly popular, right?
Yeah,
like even the popularity polls, they were going back and forth, right? Like it wasn't just like yeah, was it like a fucking 10,000 to 3, or no, 100,000? Excuse me. I know it matters.
Yeah. And I even like and I know it's not even just like a Western thing of like, oh, there's just a substantial amount of people in the West who don't like Suzaku. It was at least substantial enough to where like in an interview they specifically mentioned that a lot of people didn't like Suzaku, and certain decisions in the newer movie recap things were made to make Suzaku's like perspective be more understood and more sympathetic, so that, you know, they would like they didn't directly say like so that people would like him, but like, you know, but just to like understand
they're making
him
more clear. Like it sounds like they're not changing it, but they're just making it more clear, because I mean, like just the fact that you yourself went from hating Suzaku to thinking about him more and more and realizing, oh, you know, I wasn't giving enough credit. Like there's more going on to him that I wasn't, you know, that I hadn't thought about before, right? So
yeah.
So, you know, if the movies were making it more clear, then that, you know, might have hopefully, you know, maybe changed or helped some people, you know, feel the same way.
Yeah, I don't even know if like, so for me, before I watched the movies, I set out with like trying to pay attention to like when I was watching the movies, I wanted to specifically pay attention to Suzaku a lot to see if like I could like him, or to see if like I think like how he thinks is as cringe as I was saying before. And I mean, it is still like cringe in certain ways, don't get me wrong, but it's like I can't hate on it, because like again, like it's basically the same thing Lelouch was doing but for the other side. It just so happens that like it is a little more cucked to be like on a system. It's like on like it, like just the idea of it is more cucked, but it's like it's still not like, you know, it's still like it's not like it doesn't make sense, I guess, for like what kind of character he is and how he's like similar to Lelouch and all that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Code Geass still good. I'm still gonna keep going, you know. There's just more. I love it.
Are there any Code Geass games you could play? Have you looked?
Oh,
so I mean, I could look into like how I would go about playing
There's a
that
PS2 game
where Lelouch and Suzaku have a kid. Because there's this guy who has the DNA of Lelouch and the DNA of Suzaku, so it's their child. So I would have to look into how to experience that.
Which one is that? Because I'm just... yeah, it's not... Oh, wait. The PSP version is translated. Lost Colors?
No, I'm looking at a Code Geass mech action game.
There's also like a recent like crossover thing with some other game, but I know that game's like not.
I know Code Geass is. I know that like Code Geass also is in a bunch of Super Robot Wars games, so you could play those just for Lelouch.
Yeah, the PSP and PSP Lost Colors and the DS game are both translated in English. The PSP game that's a crossover thing is not. Yeah, like Ben said.
I mean, the first priority is to finish all of like the actual stuff that like I can watch. Before I delve into that stuff, because there still is the picture dramas, and I saw like a slight bit about them, about how like they fill in some gaps between like episodes of the actual series to explain some certain things, not like things that are like super overly important, but
those are like shorts that are like included with the DVDs and Blu-rays.
Yeah, I
right?
know.
Yeah, okay. I just want. Well, that would. Yeah, okay, gotcha. I was just wondering.
Yeah,
like,
so that'd be like the next thing.
Okay.
Yeah, forgot what I was gonna say after that. Oh yeah, I also wanted to like mention how I think Lelouch is the first like fictional character since I reread Naruto that like the way I feel bad about Lelouch is as if he were like an actual person. Like with Sasuke, like I would just sometimes think about Sasuke and start crying, and like I actually feel so bad for him. And I do the same thing with Lelouch.
Damn.
Nunmanji built fucking different. I love him.
All right, is it my turn now? All right,
yeah,
so I did end up finishing The Hobbit. I talked about last week. I'm not really going to talk about it much this week, but I did read another book then. Yeah.
Already?
It was like a 630-page book, too, or something like that.
Okay, you're just fucking slow.
I read Elantris.
You're a monster.
It's good. So like the basic premise of the book is like it starts.
Which is that another one of the Cosmere books?
It's the last. Okay. Yeah, it's one of the last books I have. It's the only like solo book I have left. So I have 1 4-book series, but those 4 books are as long as like 2 of like the books I've been reading. So I could read it really quickly, but I don't know if I'll read it next. But so like the premise is like at the start, like like the main character, one of the ones, but like the one you're following for most of it. He gets thrown into essentially like he gets like a zombie disease and gets thrown into a city full of like zombie people who are like dead, and like any pain they accumulate like stays. So he like stubs his toe like immediately when he gets in there, and that like throbbing of his toe never goes away because his heart's not beating, so his body can't heal himself, right?
God.
So any damage you take, you stay, and then a lot of people eventually their mind just breaks, right, from all the pain. And so that's like the start of it, is like he's thrown into this fucking zombie city full of people who are all dead. And there's like reasons for it, and that's going on. And then the city outside, where other people are doing stuff, there's like a lot of politics going on. And it's a good book. I don't know. It was a really fun time. It was like, that's like the premise. I don't really want to say too much more in case people want to read it, but it's good. I mean, I think the author's just really good at writing really good characters that I end up really enjoying. And I mean, he did it. I would say he did it again. Elantris was his first published novel, so I do think it was like his weakest of like all of his books that I've read. I haven't read obviously like his I'm not gonna read like his fucking middle grade like book for like 10-year-old children. All right, like calm down. I'm not that guy. They're not like in the shared universe. I don't care.
Is it canonical?
No, it's not in the Cosmere. I don't care. Same with like his YA series. It isn't in the Cosmere. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, I mean it like is his weakest book, but like I still read it in like a week, less than like 3 days, and like thought it was really enjoyable. I'm like went hard, got a little emotional near the end. I think there's some like really good characters. Yeah. I explained like part of the just like setting like the premise, right? Crafts, you immediately were like, ooh,
yeah,
like it's good. It goes hard. I don't know, good book.
All right, this is another one I brought up earlier, so I figure I should talk about it a bit more now. But yeah, last year I reread Naoki Urasawa's Pluto, and I guess I'll also talk about Astro Boy, Osamu Tezuka, which I also read last year. Sort of, since a lot of the thing I've been doing for the anime or manga reread and rewatch has been like, if I like this manga a lot, I should check out its respected anime, and vice versa. If I like this anime a lot, I should probably have read the original manga. So in the case of Pluto, Pluto is basically Naoki Urasawa, the monster, 20th Century Boys, going, and he is a big fan of Astro Boy. Like, it's very evident if you read even both Monster and, because I'm pretty sure he both did Monster and 20th Century Boys before Pluto, and like who's the main character Monster? Tenma, named for Astro Boy's creator and original father. In reading 20th Century Boys at the start, they mentioned the Ochanomizu University of Tech or whatever, and that's named from Professor Ochanomizu, who is he's Astro Boy's adoptive sort of, like, he takes Astro Boy in after he gets abandoned by his original father. Urasawa fucking is a big fan of Astro Boy and Tezuka in general, so he adapts it in Pluto. So as far as, like, do you need to read the original Astro Boy? Honestly, original Astro Boy, kind of fucking mid. Like, there are some really good story arcs in there. There's a couple that I think, and I like Tezuka, don't get me wrong. Like, Blackjack's really good. Letters to Adolf is good. Phoenix goes fucking hard.
Letters to who now?
What?
Letters to who
now?
now?
Yeah, no, it's literally, it's about World War II and Hitler.
No, I know about it.
All right. So
I just wanted to see how you would react.
That's fine. I understand. And Tezuka has some manga that aren't as good. Because Alabaster is kind of whatever. He made a fucking million of goddamn manga, so they can't, like, that's kind of, he's fucking Tezuka. But yeah, so Astro Boy, it's his most popular series, though I think he has gone on record saying he doesn't like a lot of it. And, because, like, his actual passions were, probably, like, Phoenix in particular was, like, his, masterpiece, basically, that he died making, his would-be magnum opus. Unfinished. Still really good for what it is, though. But anyway, so Astro Boy is, I'd say there's maybe, like, 3 good arcs in there, and maybe a couple good one-offs, but most of the manga, out of the 22 volumes, I just wasn't super into it. Because it's kind of all over the place. Like, they talk, even in the manga, like, Tezuka's talking about, like, this story I wasn't big on, or, here's why I did this story and what I thought was interesting about it. And there's some bits, like, it changed magazines and publishing a few times, and, the anime comes up as well. But, like, my favorite story arc from Astro Boy was The World's Strongest Robot, which is the specific arc that Naoki Urasawa adapts. Where basically the premise is that there's a giant robot called Pluto, and he wants to become the strongest robot by destroying the 7 strongest robots, one of which is, Atom, Astro Boy. And Urasawa's manga doesn't actually follow Atom, Astro Boy. It follows Geist, who is he's the German strongest robot, who's a detective, and God, he's a good man. I just want to point out, when I first read this manga, like, late high school or just after high school, which I would have done because I like 20th Century Boys a lot, I didn't know, like, I would have recognized Astro Boy. Like, it aired on fucking, like, Foxbox, or one of the, no, maybe not Foxbox, one of those, Saturday morning cartoon channels, because the 2003 anime version. So, like, I would have known who Astro Boy was, but I literally read the entire manga and did not recognize it at all until like was looking at, like, TV tropes after I finished it, and they're like, oh, adapted from Astro Boy, and I was like, what? Like, it's just very much like Urasawa, and, like, the mystery. He's just so good at, like, just building and creating this mystery and these thrillers and nailing the drama. And I'm especially thinking about it because I'm rereading 20th Century Boys, which I'll probably talk about in a couple of weeks. But yeah, he's just, like, fucking, it's only 8 volumes. It's really short. So I guess to go back to my point is, if you wanted to, like, read Astro Boy before Pluto, go for it. Good luck. At the end of the day, the story arc that you want that it adapts is in volume 3. So if you just read the first get it to at least volume 3 in Astro Boy and read as much as you can. But I don't blame anyone for not being able to finish it. But Pluto, I think, is worth a read even if you don't go through Astro Boy. It's just really good. And yeah, its messages are really clear. Like, it's very anti-war. Like, I brought up the Naruto comparison because I think it has a lot of the similar messaging. Though there's still very different stories at the end of the day. And I think Naruto, being a longer story, it's able to do a bit more. for sure. But now Pluto's still really fucking dense and good, and I like Geist, I like Adam. Pluto, the antagonists are good. Like, it's just, God, it's a good manga. And that's all I want to say.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right.
Do you think, even though Pluto adapts like only that one section, it still feels like super complete?
Oh, 100%.
I don't really know like a whole bunch about Pluto.
Yeah, no, it's because again, like I think what a big part of what makes it work is that like, because obviously like by the end of the manga, Adam is like the main central character, but like the fact that through most of it he's he's like the deuteragonist basically. Like he's the second most important character in the story after Geist for most of it. When in Astro Boy he was a main character, and it still works. I think that really, because at the end of the day, like it's also it was adapting one arc, so it still has like a beginning, middle, and end. It has a solid through line, and it also expands on it in a lot of ways. Like it's clearly using some current events and stuff like the United States stand-in versus the Middle East stand-in, and they invaded for the weapons of mass destruction, robots of mass destruction, excuse me. Like it's very much on the nose in a lot of ways, but also I want to say, because so one thing that I have that it's harder for you guys to get is because if you look at the digital versions, they're entirely in black and white, but my physical volumes have color because there's a recurring motif of flowers for some stuff, and I can even show some pictures. I'd have to take some, but they're in color.
Oh, that's cool.
For parts of it. Like the rest of the manga is in black and white, but then you just have these flowers for that that just fucking pops, and it just like adds, it just punches me as I read it. So I'll try and remember to get some pictures so that I can show it, because it's if you can get the physical volumes, like go for it, because you can't get I checked a couple, maybe there are some available somewhere online, but the ones I checked, it was in black and white like I remembered it. So it's just a really cool thing that I've actually never seen in another manga before, because obviously they're 99% entirely black and white, sans excluding the color pages, which
I've heard of something doing that, but I just can't remember what it was called.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's got to be something that does something with it, but very few of those have survived to the volumes, because obviously most of the color pages don't. So but yeah, good manga. Are we gonna do another rotation or no?
I mean, I could if you wanted to do another
Vindy?
thing.
I could. We don't have to, but yeah.
Okay, let's do it then.
So I mean, I can either talk about Code Geass again, or I could talk about a Silent Voices manga. I could talk about the original Gundam. Not really particular on what I want to talk about.
How much of the original Gundam did you watch?
Or Vinland. I mean, I've seen like 3-4 episodes so far.
Okay. In that case, I'd wait on talk about the Silent. Or did you read the whole Silent Voice manga?
No, not yet.
Oh God. Okay. All right. Talk about whichever one you feel like, or talk about whichever one you feel like you'll have more to or less to say later on. I guess. Maybe, if that makes sense.
Less to say later on. Well, I don't know how much I'll have to say.
Yeah, I think Gundam better, because I think the interesting things to say about Silent Voice will be after you get to where it deviates farther from the movie.
I mean, there is one thing about it that I did want to complain about. Not negatively. Like, no, I like the manga, but complain about the teacher, really.
He's a piece of work.
I guess I'll talk about Gundam. I'm enjoying it. I think it's kind of interesting to watch it now after having like seen a little bit of old Toku and fucking like older series in general. Like watching it made me feel like my level as an anime fan, quote unquote, has risen enough to be able to watch it without an issue. Like I literally have no issues watching, even though it's like for some people it might be a little too old, especially because some people don't want to go back to the oldest Gundam, so they like pick something else. But like I still enjoy it. I've still got into the I still got into like the general conflict of what's going on, and just like enjoyed it for what it was, even if like so far the characters are like a little more simple than what you could get out of like I guess the average newer show, just because it's like it focuses on different things. I don't think like that's I think some people might take that the wrong way, but I'm not gonna sit here and say like, oh, it focuses on the fucking mechas. Like, no, it definitely still is like character focused to some extent, especially with like what's his name?
Amuro?
Yeah, like him.
He's just a guy, dude.
Kind of. Okay.
He's just a stand-in for you to self-insert as because you want
him like being overwhelmed with like piloting for the first time and like actually being in real battle, and also like Char, like, you know, having the stuff with his sister and kind of like, you know, even though it's only been like a couple like 3-4 episodes, like I think he's kind of likable and interesting. And I'm super interested to see like why exactly are like if the story's gonna go for like the antagonists, you know, have a point, like, you know, they're valid in how they feel and why they're trying to become independent. Because I think it's super interesting to be on this, like, the perspective character is with the people that the antagonists are trying to break away from. Like, you know, most stories follow, like, you know, follow the people usually trying to get like independence from the bigger power, but like we're following the people with the bigger power. So I'm like kind of curious on like if it's gonna go a route of no, these guys trying to get independence are actually still cringe, or, you know, like if they have a point and if like they'll actually get their independence, or like if they'll get along in the end. Like I'm kind of interested. There are definitely also like some old anime moment like things of just like Amuro slapping that one girl when she's like freaking out. Like that just felt like an older thing that would happen in older shows. But I've been enjoying it. I think it's good, and I'm glad I'm at the point where I can watch stuff like this without having an issue.
Yeah, that is a nice feeling, huh?
Because I've kind of slowly built up the level to do it.
Just one thing to add is just one thing, because I have seen the original Gundam, and one thing that definitely struck me about the start of it is just, you know, like, because I think I maybe even heard like tidbits of it, but like seeing how it, you know, deals with like, yeah, here's this child being thrust into the fucking horrors of war, and just like what, there's like a fucking explosion and there's just a fucking sea of dead bodies he has to cross to get into the giant robot. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, even with like the oldest Gundam series, which is like what people would probably like, where like the myth of like, oh, it's about the robots and it's about the cool things. I don't really think it like is overly focused on how cool it is and stuff. Like they're still like afraid of what's going on, and like I don't know, like it just doesn't really make sense where that like thing that people say come from, at least on these like first batches of episodes.
No, yeah, and well, from what I'm aware of, that is Tomino, the fucking director of Gundam, literally like I think he has an interview where he talks about how like he respects the female fans of Gundam a lot because they were the ones who gave a shit about the characters, where the boys were interested in the toys. So like, you know, in his mind, it was about, you know, the characters and like what they're going through.
Yeah,
even
like
if like
Amuro
the merchandising
and Char's,
was
like,
important to the continued existence of the franchise, right? So
like the pair of them is definitely, you know, seems like it's gonna build into something and be like, you know, very focused upon thing. And again, I don't like, even though like there is some cool action stuff, it just doesn't feel like it's like overwhelmingly focusing on that. But it is what it is. Vindy.
All right, I watched the movie Bullet Train a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I don't actually know when.
Oh yeah,
I watched that recently, and it's really fucking good. Actually, great movie. I don't know how much I want to say about it because like it's on Netflix right now, which is like the easiest streaming service I feel like to recommend to people right now. If like something like, if like there's a movie, I think people should watch it. Like Netflix is like just, you know, still is the one where it's like, you know, most people probably have it. But I think something that the movie does really interesting that's super cool is like they're on a bullet train, and so it starts in Tokyo and it ends in Kyoto, I think. And so like at the beginning of the movie when they're in Tokyo, the train is stopping a lot, and so that stopping is creating a lot of tension in a very different way from later on, where at the beginning of the movie when the train is stopping a bunch, like there's a lot of these quick breaks in the action, something will happen, and then because the train stops, it kind of resets everything that's going on, right? And then the train will go and then it'll stop, and things kind of, you know, go along those stops. But then as the movie goes on, they get farther out of Tokyo, and so there's less and less stops. And as the time in between stops increases, the time that the characters have to spend on the train interacting with each other also increases. And so then that's when like more things start to happen. But like that only works, and like the pace getting like drawn out then works really well because the beginning is so fast paced and there's so much to keep you engaged at the beginning of the movie until it gets to the part where then it'll like slow down and have all this stuff going on at once. I think just the way that like the movie used like the stops to pace itself was like really cool and like an obvious thing to me when I was watching the movie that was like super sick. And besides that, I mean, it's Brad Pitt. Who doesn't love Brad Pitt? Good movie. Just should watch it.
Neat. I haven't actually decided what I'm going to talk about next. I'll talk about something I went through this year. I rewatched American Psycho, which, infamous character Patrick Bateman meme, the man, the meme legend himself, I suppose. I don't know. And obviously, the picture I used for my thread was the fucking dubs from 4chan, because he's just like, I don't know, even watching the movie, there were times where I was laughing just because I saw a recognizable, reaction image. But anyway, that aside, the movie's good. I thought it was interesting. That said, I also remember watching it before and just, straight up not getting it. And then, as I was talking about it with people, they mentioned there was the whole, oh, is it reality or is it a fantasy? And it's like, motherfucker, if you watch the movie, it's not ambiguous at all. You just need to fucking pay. There's a little bit of ambiguity in the middle because it's trying to trick you, basically. But if you literally, pay enough attention in the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie, it is fucking obvious. That's the whole thing. Is Patrick Bateman is literally he even mentions it's the idea of him, he's also trying to follow the idea of himself, and at the end of the day everyone around him just thinks he's a fucking putz, he's kind of a fucking loser, living in his own head, and the movie's just kind of it's the idea behind the movie is really fucking sad, honestly. He's just this nihilist materialist who's just trying to be the ideal American, basically, making lots of money and fucking lots of women and but also being smart and intellectual and having good taste in art and food, and he's just so obviously fake and hollow because he's chasing these things, there's one part where they're mentioning a fucking genocide going on the other side of the world, and he's like, we should talk about other more important things, ending sexism and racism, as he ignores a racial massacre, and also ending materialism. And one of his coworkers just fucking laughs because he knows that Patrick Bateman's just the most materialistic fuck there in the room. And it's just but it's also just really fucking funny because the fucking business card scene where he's literally cares so much about having a good business card and being upstaged that he fucking drops his shaking so much that he drops the business card. It was also easier to laugh at all the horrible fucked up shit that happens because it's not actually happening. It's literally just this crazy person. At the end, he does have a fucking mental breakdown, and there's a part where he tries to go to an ATM and it's feed me a cat. So he picks up a cat and he pulls out his gun and he tries to he's about to shoot the cat in a way to feed this man is just fucking god damn, he's broken. Yeah, it was a interesting movie watching it again and getting it better, yeah. All right, that about covers it.
Alrighty, Nun, what do you think you will talk about next week?
I don't know, it could be anything. Dude. There's so many
anything.
I want to know what's included in anything, Vindy.
Dude, code Geass, hopefully.
Code Geass. Oh, God. I really am curious to see how long this streak goes, because he hasn't talked about the manga yet. He's got 2 video games to play.
No. If he was really dedicated, he could keep it going. He could also just rewatch the show. Fuck it.
He literally could.
How dedicated is this guy to his bit?
We'll see.
We'll find out.
What will I talk about? I see. The problem is I don't know because I literally finished my book today. So I don't know.
What do you do with yourself?
Yeah, I haven't thought that far ahead. What games have I been playing? I might be able to talk about either. I've been rewatching Ted Lasso because season 3 is about to start, but I might just wait till season 3 is over. Maybe I'll talk about Last of Us if I end up finishing the show because it does finish this Sunday, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I saw that it was finished.
Yeah,
Sunday.
I could talk about, I don't know. There might be a game I'm playing that I might finish soon. I'm not sure if I'm close to finishing any game I'm playing. Mm-hmm. So that's where I stand. What about you, gamer?
Is that me?
Yeah, the one who hasn't gone.
I didn't know.
The one who hasn't gone.
I was like, gamer? I don't know. Do I ascribe to being a gamer? I don't know.
Do you not?
Getting tossed up by that. So, I mean, I guess I do play a lot of video games, but at like I don't know. I'm not sure if I'd describe. I don't know, whatever. I'm just gonna fucking talk about. So, aside from the things that I have already gone through, like this year and last year, like I am still like I'm probably not gonna be able to finish 20th Century Boys by next week, because honestly the issue is just that I started a new job and it is taking up all of my time. I literally like I've been playing a certain video game that Vindy knows what it is. I literally haven't touched it in like 3 or 4 days now because I just like. Because going through, like, I come home from work and I have, like, okay, what am I doing, like, once a day? I'm reading, 2 volumes of 20th Century Boys. I'm playing a little Animal Crossing. I've got, like, some, basically, my daily Aikatsu, my seasonal shows. So it's, like, I just have, other things that I have to do once a day that I've set myself to do. And it turns out, if I do all those things, there isn't much time to do anything else. I mean, okay, maybe, could I get more time if I stop jacking off? Probably. But that's a question for another day. So yeah, I'll probably end up talking about, at least, for next time, I'll probably just talk about some older stuff. But then after that, probably, 20th Century Boys is probably the next thing the most current thing I'm talking about that I'll be able to talk about sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm watching a movie this weekend, but that is something I'm probably going to end up talking about somewhere else. But if not, I'll talk about it instead next time. So, yeah.
Game. All right.
Thank you for listening, everybody, and we will
Adios.
see you next time.